Hi there, it's Joe. I'm back today with another video for Through the Craft Room Door magazine. It's an online publication by Colleen Holmes. Today's project is a faux stained glass glitter coaster. Try and get all that out. Okay, let me show you what the project's going to end up looking like, and then we'll go on to the supplies that you're going to need. This is what we're going to be making today, and as you can see, it's much prettier in person. It's a very glittery stained glass look inside of a coaster. But this is the project we're going to be making today. This is another one that I've done many years ago. This is in a square form. And what that is, and what you'll need, will be something like this. This is how it comes. Initially, they're usually in the area that cross-stitching items would be in your local craft store, because initially that's what it's for. I think these even come with a little cloth in them that you could use for cross-stitching, but we're not going to be using that. So you'll need one of these in whatever shape that you find that you would want to use. And then what you're going to need is a stamp. Now, whether it's a digital stamp or a regular rubber stamp. Now, years ago, we didn't have digital stamps. So what we had to do was either stamp the images out on a piece of paper and take them to a copy center, or if you had a copier, and print them out. And I still like this way, mainly because when you stamp and if there's any flaws in it, you can usually fix it up with a marker and then run it through your copies. However, with the technologies that have come through with all the inks are much better than what they used to be. So you could use Stays-On ink, but what you will need is some sort of a piece of acetate. Now, depending on, let me bring in a colored piece of cardstock so you'll kind of see what we're talking about. It's just the transparencies that are used for offices and things like that. There's some of the stamp companies that make these and sell them in smaller packages. But you will need that, and depending on the method you're going to use as far as applying the stamp, if you're going to do it through a copier or a printer, you're going to want to make sure that you get the type that is for your printer or your copier. Some of them require, that they be heat resistant. If you're just going to stamp, it doesn't really matter if it's heat or non-heat resistant. Okay. You're also going to need some sort of a glue, and today I'm going to be using it's Sparkle and Sprinkles brush on glue. Usually I use the Art Institute glitter as far as the glue, but for this one, because it is a little bit thinner, I thought it would be easier to actually show. It gives you a little more working time as well. Now, you just have to make sure whatever the glue that you're using is one that is going to dry clear, because you're going to be working on the back of the project. And then once it dries, you'll have the glittery part. And then you're going to need glitters, depending on what your image is. Now, because our image, again, let me just bring this over and show it to you. It's not real detailed. I'm only going to be using 4 colors. The colors I'm going to be using is one called Canadian Blue, which is the dark blue. I'm going to be using a platinum, which is the silver that was in there. Baby blue, and then I'm using seashell. You could use, this is not quite real white, but you could use a white glitter. Now, the key to this project is making sure you work from dark to light, not light to dark, dark to light. So the Canadian Blue will be our first, the platinum, then the baby blue or blue boy, then the seashell. So again, remember, work dark to light, because you don't want to contaminate your light colors. You're going to need some sort of brushes, and you don't want to use any really good brushes because, of course, you're going to be dipping these in glue. So I would just some older thin brushes. I've had these for many, many years. Matter of fact, these are ones that I used to use when I taught this technique in classes. I would have some water available to rinse your brushes out, as sometimes they do get a little bit clogged with gooey and stuff. And something to put your glue into. I'm using these little things that I saved from a package of Brads. I cut them up and they're perfect size. Okay, you're going to need something to dip your glitter out with. I mean, you don't have to. You can dump it on, but I like to have that. And then there's these little things which are from Art Institute. She calls them nudgers, but what they are, they're really just some pieces of glossy cardstock. And as we get into the project, you'll see what we'll be using these for. They're nice to have handy. You'll also need some white cardstock. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. It can be just some cheap Bristol board type of cardstock, whatever you want to use. You'll need one piece for the back of your image, just because you want something solid back there. And then you'll notice when we go to put the coaster together, you'll need some to actually stack in there to keep it from moving up and down. Okay, so the only other thing I can say is if you have the containers that you use to dump glitter and stuff in and then dump it back in, you can. I use just standard coffee filters from the dollar store. Quick, easy, and disposable. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to need is your image. And let me bring in this. I have a piece of color cardstock here to help so you can see. You'll see that it is an image, and this is one that I actually did and ran through a copier. I just prefer that method, but you know, whatever you choose. Now, what you're going to do is you need to find the side that has the texture on it. So in other words, the side that the toner has printed on. You don't want the smooth side. That's the side that's going to go up towards your image or towards your coaster. So this is the side that is the rough side. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and get started. I'll leave this here so you can see where I'm applying the glue. And again, we're going to work dark to light. So I'm going to have my blue glitter ready to go. And I am going to get my glue out. And I'm not going to put a lot in my little container just because it can dry up quickly, and that's just a waste. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue in here, not much. And as you can see, this glue is very brushable. Matter of fact, I didn't even fill the whole bottom of that. And we'll put that aside. Now I'm going to just take my brush, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just dip it into the glue. Just kind of load it up with that glue. And this kind of shell looking area is where we're going to start first. And I am going to do that. Just go ahead and start brushing it in as if I was painting something. And I hope you can see this. I'm sorry if my hand kind of gets in the way. But you want to brush right up to the edge. Since this is all being done in the blue, you can actually go over the edge on this. Get some more of the glitter or the glue. And you want it thick enough because if you put it on too thin, it's going to dry. And so when you apply the glitter, it's not going to stick. Now, this is really nice glue for a lot of projects, but sometimes it's a little finicky on your acetate. So what we're going to do is take this, and I'm going to take one of my little spoons, and you'll actually start seeing the color. And we're just going to go ahead and tap over that. Lay that aside. I'm going to bring in my coffee filter and just tap it in. Give it a little tap. And you can see it's a little cloudy here, which is fine. This will dry clear. This is the importance of having a clear drying glue. And you'll see. Okay. Now, for sake of the video, I've actually went ahead and prepared some different steps here. So what I've done is I've went ahead and I completed all the way up to the where I'm going to do the clear. But what I've done is I've just colored it in various areas with that glue. And you can see it's really starting to take form. Looks a little ugly on this side. Kind of, you don't really see the image too well, but that's fine. Easy to work with. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our glue, and excuse my hands again, I'm going to load my brush up. And now, because everything else is already done, I don't really have to worry about being overly neat. So I can just plop it on. I mean, I'm going to try to stay in the lines here, but it's not necessary. And I'll show you why we would need one of those nudgers. I'll deliberately go over that line. And this you could do throughout the whole thing. You see the glue? Fine. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait until I put the glitter on. I'm just going to go, wow, I really slipped up. Okay, so I'm going to use the seashell. I'm going to grab my little scoop here, and I'm going to just put it on. Grab my, tap it in. Okay, and you'll notice how that sticks out like that. If you take, while it's still damp, you're going to take your little nudger or glossy cardstock, and you can just push it right back in. Super simple. Let me just show you that one more time so that when it happens to you, you can actually fix it. It's not a big deal. I'm going to put some more of my glue down. And again, I'm going to go way over the edge this time so you can really see it. Okay. Take my glitter. Tap that off. And you'll see I have another blob way over. Can you see that? Okay. I'm just going to take my nudger, and I'm just going to push it right back into those lines. Pretty easy. And of course, we would go ahead and finish this completely off. Allow it to dry a little bit because you don't want to get your scissors all gummed up for any reason. So once it's all dry, then you're going to cut your image out. And that's exactly what I've done. I went ahead and I just cut, and you want to just cut, you know, right to the edge where this is showing. Okay. Now, of course, not all these are going to come into the right shape. With using the method that I use where I stamp it on the paper and then I put it on the photocopier, you could always resize things to fit what these coasters are, because of course these coasters are actually made for, like I said, the cross stitching. All right, so I'm just going to lay that there. This is already dry. Let's go ahead and bring our coaster over and get it opened up. And it comes with the instructions to do the little cross stitch pattern that's on the front here. It comes with a piece of cork that has adhesive on the back. Okay, we're going to lay that aside for a moment. And like I said, it comes with a little cross stitching cloth, which I'm not going to use. I don't do cross stitch. Okay, here's another piece of cardboard. Hold on to that. And then you just have to pop that pattern piece out. Now, you want to make sure that's clean. So just take a little bit of water or some Windex or something like that and make sure it's clean. And then you're going to take your image. I'm going to lay this down. That's on the front. Okay, with the glitter side facing you now, you're going to lay that in there. And you can see it's bulging a little bit. So what I'm going to need to do is, I may not have cut real close on some parts, so I'm going to need to trim that off just a little bit in some spots. So you may have to work with this thing a little bit to get it to fit. There we go, that's pretty good. Okay, now you want to have something white to put in here. So I've cut circles to fit this. So I'm going to lay that on there like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and put that piece of cardboard that came with it back in. Put that in. Now, you will need to cut some other pieces of cardstock just to fill in this little gap. Let me see if I can show you that. I'm not sure if you can see this or not. Let me see. There's a gap like in this area here. It's in the well. And what you'll need to do is you need to build that up, because otherwise it's just going to shake around. You want to get that so when you put this piece of cork on here, you're not going to have that flopping around in there. So it just depends on, you know, how big that well is. I don't think I've ever had two that are the same, even when I buy the same brand. So now that I have that in there and it's pretty flush, I'm just going to take another look over here and see what we look like. Let me get this little piece of something off of here. So here we have our image. So then what we would do is we'll just go ahead and peel the backing off of this, which of course is not going to come peeling off very easily. All right, well, anyhow, if you were to peel it off, then you would go ahead and stick it on. And there you have your coaster. And that's what you end up with, is something that looks like this. It's an easy project. It doesn't take long, really. It's just a little bit, because it's best to, you know, give it a little time to set up between each color. But the big key is work dark to light, because if I was to work the other way around, when I put this clear on, and then if I went to a dark color, if there was still some damp spots in that clear and that dark hits it, it's going to contaminate it. So it's best always to work from dark to light. And there's so many different images, and not all of them have to be stained glass. You can just take a regular image. I mean, you could do an image of a pumpkin, or a flower. And if you really look, there's a ton of stained glass stamps out there, and there's a ton of stained glass digi images as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this project. I've been meaning to do this video for quite some time, so I thought this would be a great time to do it, and you could make some gifts for people. These make great little gifts if you want to give someone that you work with something, but you know, it's not too personal. They can have it on their desk and use it for their you know, the coffee or their soda can or whatever. So I hope you again have enjoyed the video and that you will give this a try. Remember, these are in the usually where the cross stitch items are in your local craft stores, like the Joann's and Michael's, AC Moore, that type of thing. Thanks for stopping by today, and see you back again soon.